Whoa. We've got a senator, a governor, and a wild plan to send troops into one of America's biggest cities. This thing gets messy, and it gets messy fast. We're going to break down the entire showdown between Ted Cruz and J.B. Pritzker, so let's just dive right in. It all kicked off during a Newsmax appearance. Senator Ted Cruz was asked about Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, and his response was, let's just say it was blunt, it was personal, and it lit the fuse on a massive political firestorm. So, what's the deal here? What on earth could provoke that level of anger on live TV? Well, the answer is a big collision of politics, power, and a super controversial plan for the city of Chicago. So here's how it all started. Cruz was reacting to some comments that Governor Pritzker had made about a plan from former President Trump. And Cruz's response? It was immediate and it was inflammatory. Yep, he went there. Cruz dropped one of the most serious accusations you can make in politics, straight up labeling Pritzker a racist bigot. It was a direct, no-holds-barred attack. And he didn't just stop at the political stuff. Cruz then threw in some really personal remarks about the governor's weight. So, this made it crystal clear this wasn't just about policy differences. Okay, so the core of Cruz's whole political argument is this. He claims that the Democratic Party as a whole consistently and deliberately chooses to stand with criminals. We're talking murderers, rapists, gang members, over regular, law-abiding citizens. So the issue at the absolute center of this whole feud is former President Trump's plan to deploy the National Guard right onto the streets of Chicago. All right, let's break this down. The official goal was to fight crime and help out with IC deportations. They'd done similar stuff in LA and DC, but the people who were against it, they saw a totally different motive. They said it was just an attempt to intimidate immigrant communities. Now, as you can probably guess, Chicago's leadership was not just going to take this sitting down. Their response was unified, and man, it was forceful. Governor Pritzker's response was a hard no. He got out there and publicly rejected the whole idea, saying flat out that the president might want to send troops, but the people of Chicago absolutely do not. And Pritzker didn't stop there. He went even further, accusing federal immigration enforcement of racial profiling. He argued the plan wasn't really about your legal status, it was about targeting and terrorizing Latinos. Then you had Chicago's former Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She framed it a little differently. For her, this was just a pure political power play, a way for Trump to flex his authority, scare people, and pump up his administration's ICE numbers. And the city's current mayor, Brandon Johnson, he just slammed the whole plan as being totally illogical. He raised grave concerns that deploying the Guard like this wasn't just a bad idea, it was probably illegal. Okay, but this brings up one of Ted Cruz's key claims in all of this, that no matter what Democratic leaders say, Latino voters actually want this kind of tough enforcement. So, is that true? Well, the data shows it's complicated. In Cruz's home state of Texas, Trump did in fact win 55% of the Latino vote. But if you look at the whole country, that number was lower, at 43%. So the big takeaway here is that support really changes depending on where you are. Okay, so just as this whole political battle was hitting a fever pitch, a federal judge comes out of nowhere and drops an absolute bombshell that just changes the entire conversation. So this all comes back to that question Mayor Johnson raised. Can a president even do this? Is it actually legal to send in the National Guard to act like a domestic police force? And the answer, according to a brand new federal court ruling, is a big, fat nope. And listen, this isn't just some hypothetical. The ruling came down against the exact same kind of deployment that Trump used in Los Angeles. So this wasn't just a little setback, it was a direct legal smackdown of the entire strategy. The judge found that the administration had violated something called the Posse Comitatus Act. It's a foundational U.S. law that basically says you can't use the military for regular law enforcement. Bottom line, soldiers are not cops. And the judge, Charles Breyer, he did not hold back in his criticism either. He called it a top-down systemic effort to misuse the troops, which kind of suggests this was a deliberate strategy, not just a one-time mistake. So a federal court just totally sidelined this huge political debate. The plan is stopped for now, but it leaves us with this massive question. Where is the line between federal power and local control? And what are the real limits of a president's authority in our cities? So now I want to hear from you. Is this ruling the final word on this, or is this strategy just going to pop up again in a different way? Drop your predictions down in the comments below.
And that is it for this breakdown. Hey, if you enjoyed this, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button and definitely subscribe for more deep dives that cut through all the noise. We'll see you in the next one.